Hey everybody, today is July 12th, 2023. I'm Gene, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Hanging with Uncle. If you're listening and you have not hit that subscribe button, please do so. We're trying to grow our channel. And if you have hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, that like button. It really helps to spread our channel out there, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when we are going live and putting new content out there. And we appreciate that very much. Thank you. And before we get started, I just wanted to say that this will be our last broadcast for a couple of weeks as far as Zane and I are concerned, because I will be out of town. I'm going on vacation. I will be in Montreal. I've never been, and that's why I'm going. And I'm also celebrating a very important day for me. So that's why I'm going. So I want to welcome back to the show today a very special guest that we had. And he was with us last week on Wednesday. So Brent, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Gene. I appreciate being on the show, man, and helping the cause out.
Oh, definitely, because I think, again, I want to continue along the lines of voting this week. So last week we talked about on election day where the threat's going to come from and what to look for and how to pay attention and what to do if you see something suspicious. But today I think is something that is very important and we all need to pay attention, and those are our school board races. Because if you notice all of the upheavals that are going on in our school boards, it seems like that's where people think they have a free license to act a fool and get as loud as they can and ignorant as they can to get their point across for something that affects them zero, because it's our education system, and I think we need to defend that. So I'll go ahead, Brent, let you get started.
Yeah, it seems like people are changing. Before, a lot of problems were addressed and targeted to police officers. Like all the problems of what's going on in the nation, the brunt of it came against the police force, our thin blue line. Now it's actually being spread even further to our school boards now.
Yeah.
So every crazy could get out there and voice their concerns about what's going on in their nation at our public education system. And how they've seen this, of course, is on TV. Them showing it over and over again, getting people to think that this is how they make a difference. How you make a difference is usually by voting and being civil and being in a society with everyone. And our society is taught by our teachers. That's our parents, our teachers, and so are the members of the schools. So if go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, that I kind of have like a correlation on how important it is to be a teacher, right? So I know people that are funny, but they're not comedians. That's a skilled art. It takes a while. It's a craft. You have to learn that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be smart and very educated, but that does not mean you're a teacher. That is for people that have gone to school, gotten their education, learned that craft in the area that they are knowledgeable in. And again, just for me, two things I know that I really pay attention to and respect our teachers for is, number one, they have to do continuing education every year, which means they have to come out of their pocket to keep learning the subject that they're teaching our kids. And the second thing is we need to lower the student to teacher ratio in the classrooms. And that's how important teachers are to me. So go ahead, Brent, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I actually worked for the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District. I was a custodian, but they actually, I had a couple years of college, and they made me a substitute teacher. I wasn't very good at it. I noticed that. It took me a while. I got better at it, and probably about the eighth or ninth time I was getting a little bit better. But really, I was surrounded by other retired teachers and other people that were a lot smarter than me.
Yeah.
So I understood that I told the principal, make me the last possible choice. If you can't get the trained monkey to come in, you get me, because he's probably better than I am. But if you need me, I'm there. Yeah. And that's the thing, is I understood that I'm a very smart person. I went to college, blah, 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 but there was better people out there than me. And I want the best for our students.
Right.
So, and that's, we would open up our school. Like, we had a gym where we do the polling, and we would do our meetings for our community. And we had Republicans, Democrats, Independents, a wide range of people in Alaska. But we had a little bit of maybe civil discourse throughout the years, a little bit of talk of this or that, but we all still sat down together and had dinner with each other and talked with each other, because we were a community. Mm-hmm. Now, this was only 500 people or whatever, but still, if you take that same spirit and just extend it out and start meeting people in your community and look at them not as a threat, but as a possibility to make your community better, to bring in business. So if your schools are being attacked and your education is going down, if I'm a business, I'm looking at demographics. So if I'm pulling up the test scores and all this information, if I want to move to someplace in Texas, well, I'm going to look at everything. So if I'm running a tech company, I'm not going to move into the lowest county in Texas or Michigan where I'm at. It doesn't matter where. I'm going to use my knowledge to figure out where the best opportunity is for me. So by people attacking the schools, they're attacking their pocketbooks.
So this is how important education is, I think, and it's an ism that I think everybody has probably heard. But if you want to try and cut the public education because of how much it costs, it's too expensive. Just remember, the cost of ignorance is more expensive. So where would you rather spend the money? I prefer to spend it in our school system, educating our kids and keeping everybody out of the classroom but the teachers and the people who are trained in that profession.
Yeah. You have to, so in any business, somebody mentioned this to me last night. They were Jewish. They went to the Baltimore Orioles. They had an area secured for his wife to get up and do pray at. Well, you want to have those areas, secured so you feel safe in, so you could go ahead and pray to your God or to learn or whatever. So these should be the same things that we do at our schools. We have to secure them. So if you have these people coming to these school board meetings, a lot of these people have no clue what they're doing. And that they really don't.
Right.
They're trying to get, actually some of them are just going there to get on TV. They want to be social media stars. They want everybody to know and like them. And they know they're getting liked. They're, with the content they're putting out before, when they weren't arguing against school boards, there was no one liking their content. And now all of a sudden they're getting likes, but they're getting groomed. They're getting groomed for bad behavior.
And here's the things that they're yelling about. And one of my biggest pet peeves is this whole CRT thing, right? We don't need to have that in our schools. Keep it out of our schools. Well, first of all, you ignorant, dumb son of a... It's not in our schools. It is graduate level school or law school level education where that information is taught. It's not in our public schools. And teaching history about the things that Rosa Parks did or Martin Luther King did is not CRT. It is history because it really happened. The things they went through, the accomplishments they did, and the benefits we have today are important, and they need to be learned in our schools and not censored like these Republican states are doing, like Ron DeSantis in Florida and so on. I mean, I get really upset about this because right there at ground zero at the school boards, in my opinion, is where we have to protect everything the most. That is where we are going to secure a rational civilization, is in a well publicly funded educational system.
Yeah, what's going on is with like DeSantis and how they're advertising him and how he's always on the news cycle and different stuff he's doing. Then the term Florida man came out. There's some news channels out there actively showing this guy to cause chaos, I believe, because there's no other reason for that guy to get that type of coverage for what he's doing. And that Florida man is now the trigger word for you to fight the schools. So you're a Florida man, you're a good man then, are you saying, Florida man? So it's like almost like an advertising campaign to cause chaos in a way. So we got to clamp that down. So children could get PTSD, the things that the soldiers from the Gulf War and from other wars came home with, by getting traumatized continuously. Then if they get traumatized, they're going to have a harder time figuring out complex problems. So they're going to get more susceptible to fall into what? Bad behavior. They could get groomed by individuals that are trying to make money and profit off them.
There's a book in Texas that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick tried to get, or did get, removed from the shelves. He censored a book. It's a government official pulling a book off the shelves. That's censorship. And the book was called Forget the Alamo. And it was taken off the shelves because it tells the truth from the Mexican point of view. How General Santa Anna rode across the Rio Grande to free the enslaved people, because remember, slavery was legal back then in this country. And Santa Anna rode across to free the enslaved people, his people, and now he's being called uncivilized and a wild man, and oh my God, we have to declare war against Mexico. And that's the kind of stuff they want pulled off the shelves when it's real history and people need to know it. You should not be hiding this information.
Yeah, and if you look at what a lot of people too are watching to get their history, they're going to the History Channel now.
Yeah.
Of all the places to go for your history, and that there's some good history on there and stuff like that, whatever. But a lot of the stuff I'm watching right now is about aliens. And
I think you got to pick and choose.
It's just too much. It's just misinformation. You need good history.
So when I watch the History Channel, for me, I like to watch stuff on tectonic plates and fault lines and natural disasters. These are things that are happening on the earth that we can deal with and we understand and why, and maybe there's things we can do to minimize them or eliminate them. That's the kind of stuff I like to watch on the History Channel. I don't watch Ancient Aliens or any of that stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, you got to be up at like early in the morning or at 3 o'clock, or late at night, because in prime time they got all that shit on. It's like...
Well, I'm glad I have YouTube TV, man, because I can just select what I want to watch and I skip all the dumb shit, man. I just go right to what I want.
Yeah, no, it's just our ways of how we think about education are changing. You mentioned Texas, so there was a lady that is a professor, Professor McElroy, I believe is her name, yeah, McElroy. So she came from the New York Times. Texas A&M recruited her, went through the recruitment process, and she took the job. So when she got there, because she came from the New York Times, which they consider to be liberal, and maybe the fact that her skin color looks a little dark here,
Yeah.
they decided to not, or to get violent with her actually, or to start actually just making her feel uncomfortable, where she started getting worried for her safety.
Yeah.
So she actually didn't take down the job. She rescinded her acceptance today over this. This isn't at Texas A&M.
That supposedly an institution of higher learning. Is that what they're teaching? That the higher learning they're teaching? To treat their professors that way? Really?
Yeah, that's it. So when I moved back to Michigan, Gene, and I came back here in November, in January, a Jewish man took a job up in Richmond, Michigan. And he took the job, and as soon as he started, because he was Jewish, he started getting threats against his life. And this is only like 12 or 15 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. He started getting threats against his life, and the school board people started getting really pissed. And then they said, we're going to investigate it, and we know who it's on the school board. But I haven't heard a lick about it since then. But those are the type of attacks. So if people are going into these areas and they're trying to educate your children, and they're bringing a new skill set, that's good.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. The more. Yeah,
the more talent you bring in with a diverse skill set, it's like a lab. In a lab, if you get all these different ideals and all this friction and chaos going on, usually good things come out of it. You want a little bit of just friction in a way, and that's kind of healthy. It's also called civil discourse, but not what's going on. I mean, this is a totally different story right now. It's not civil. It's public threats.
So I'll tell you what I learned in education along those lines, Brent, because you make a very great point, right? If you're taught Christianity, right? Slavery's wrong. Read the book of Exodus. God sent Moses to free the Jews, right? Slavery's wrong. If you read the Quran, Muhammad freed the Muslims from 1 million years of slavery from the Jews. And not so much that it's true, but the main takeaway out of both those stories is slavery is wrong. So if we can come together and look at things from a commonality, a point of I agree with that philosophy because I feel the same way, whether it's in the Bible, whether it's in the Quran, whether it's in green eggs and ham, if you believe the same thing, there should be no reason for animosity.
Yeah, man, I started looking at the school system kind of being torn down for financial reasons at first, and it started happening about in 2007 or 8 with that No Child Left Behind, which has actually left every child behind.
You're right.
Now, I forgot if it was Betsy DeVos, DeVos, there you go. Because she was actually on Trump's education. She was the education secretary.
Correct.
But I think she and her team helped draft that.
Yeah.
But if you look at what happened, and I got the article in my hand right now. Actually, I looked at it yesterday and I grabbed it today. So in the USA Today from yesterday, if you look at from Monday, if you look at it, it talks about the Navy, Air Force, and the Army. So if you look from 2019 to 2022, Air Force has remained solid. They're getting an 80% success rate in their standardized test. Well, the Navy dropped down to almost a point in the Marines now. They're about 68. The Army's been at 60 all along. So if our standardized tests have changed because of no child left behind, are the military having to dumb down their standardized tests to get to that 60%? Because at 60%, it creates a crisis for them.
Let's just cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase, Brent. Again, you're absolutely right. Like I know here in Arizona, there's plenty of money for school funding, plenty of it. But they've given it away in the form of tax breaks to corporations and taken money out of our public education system to, again, give tax breaks to the 1%. They're stealing. There's no other way to put it. They're stealing from our public education system. But the thing that gets me the most, and I want your opinion on this, is I'm tired of the people who feel like, well, I'm not going to go to this school board meeting because it might get violent. Oh, there's people there that are loud. And that's why you have things like the Satan having the power to do what he's doing with our education system. We're playing matador defense, just allowing them to go by without doing anything to stop them. In my opinion, I think we need to show up at school board meetings in numbers and allow sanity to be heard and voted upon. And again, you can tell who these school board members are. If you go to your school board meetings, you'll see who these members are. You'll see what they stand for, and you'll know if you want to vote for them or if you don't want to vote for them. But sitting at home and you get your ballot and you say, well, I don't know these guys. I don't know who to vote for. That's why. Anyway, go ahead, Brent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, just as long as there's not more chaos that starts. So we do need to show up to understand what the problem is and to hear what the school board, all the interactions, to understand the process. That's actually why they open up the school board meetings, so people understand the process of it. And there's accountability. I look at, there's a lot of veterans out there that like to ride bikes, right? Mm-hmm. They like to go out and, they're tough. I hang out with a lot of them. I really like these. I like how they interact. They're very straightforward. And I'm not talking about 1%ers. I mean, there is actually some really nice ones of them too. It's just people get confused because they think they're all bad. But if these bikers want a challenge, why don't you show up at a school board meeting and tell them to shut the hell up? We need to go ahead and to fund our we got to go ahead and hear what the school board's saying here. My child goes here. Instead of actually causing a crisis to weaken your pocketbook, if you want to put more gas money into your bike, get the chrome on it, you're going to have to actually, support your community in a way. And I'm not talking about vigilantism. Actually, if you actually start cooperating with your law enforcement, maybe even as a cooperating informant, right? Yeah. So you can start to identify these threats at the school board meetings. So now once they're identified, then you can start dealing with them. You could deal with them on social media. You can find out where they work at. You could start basically ruining their lives, really. And that's where I would get to a point where you could actually use information that's already out there about who these people are. But it would take a lot of work, but...
Again, but that's not playing matador defense. That's doing something about it non-violently, just using your brains to stop these people in their tracks with their terrorist activity, because that's what it is. Their actions are designed to terrorize people into not showing up and doing these things. So I call them terrorists.
Yeah, And a lot of these people are just confused. They're fearful. They don't understand because our public education system's been in such a state of disarray. Their education level is very low, and they have a hard time figuring out critical thinking skills. So sometimes they need a little bit. Hey, shut up. Listen to what's going on. If you don't like to be here, please leave. You're being a threat to me, and you're a threat to the community. Please leave my school board
Well,
yeah. But you're using words that you're trying to be nice to the person. Will it work?
I think it will, because again, man, you are 100% right. And the most recent example we have of that, I call it a failure in our school system because people don't understand civics, is when this lady, and I'm pretty sure you saw it, was challenging Mike Pence like, we wouldn't have Joe Biden in the White House if you would have just sent him back to the States, And Mike Pence put her in her place with the truth that the vice president does not have that authority. But if that information was taught instead of dumbing down the school system, maybe this lady wouldn't be making a fool of herself in front of the former vice president with dumb comments like this.
Yeah, there's a lady that we know. We won't say her name, but she brought up a good point. When I talked to her, she said a textbook, a math book from the 1970s, a third grade book, is equivalent to a entry-level class in college now for math.
Okay.
And I seen that, on that you see it slowly happening. If because I seen it, I was lucky enough to be a sub, and I started seeing a little bit of it. But now I have a child that's going to school, and I see how not only was the coursework being done, the content being dumbed down, they actually made it where you weren't doing as much homework. So they were saying that you needed more time for family interaction, strengthen the family. They were just using every term they can. So I'll give you a
Norway does that.
Huh?
Norway does that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Man,
And they have one of the best rated educational systems in the world.
What do they do again exactly?
They do just what you said. It's like the school hours are not as long, the homework is less, but you just don't like what we're talking about now, understanding the nuts and bolts about how things work. They have that down.
Yeah, see, but when they go home, in Norway, they're encouraged to take alternative studies and to do this. They're and they have money for computers at their house and high tech gadgetry and this and that, and their system is more developed for sure. Yeah. Norway and Sweden have some of the best systems on in the planet, but I think they do something differently too. Don't they continually reinforce their education where they have a longer school year? I think they do a little bit differently.
That I'm not sure of, but the thing, again, man, everything you say is just triggering something in me today, Brent. They have the money to do that. So do we. We choose not to do it because corporate America wants to steal it from our public education system and hold it hostage. I'm not going to move there and bring jobs to your state if you're going to make me pay taxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what Norway doesn't have.
I think Norway too, and this is the thing I heard the other day, and too, if you actually don't have a 3-month break, if you structure your school differently, I think some school districts are actually going to 2 months on and 1 month off, because they notice that they have a long break. They got to relearn that for about 3 months into the year. But if you continually go, your math level will go so much further because you're having to relearn everything, and then you're relearning dumber stuff every time you get that new textbook. So this is another problem: is why do we have to pay for our education system? It seems like through the lottery.
So
It's like they're almost encouraging people to gamble to actually pay to have our kids go to school, and then that money, if you look at it, how much of it is actually going to the school? So not only are they're getting money from the government, they're getting money from a ton of different sources now.
So we're kind of out of time right now, but I'm going to answer your
Right on.
question. The problem with everything in the United States is that you can just put these two words on there, and it's for profit. We have our educational system for profit. Our medical system is for profit. Everything in this country is designed for profit, and that is the problem, to answer your question.
Yeah.
And that's just my
Capitalists run
opinion.
amok.
That's my opinion.
Capitalists run amok.
Yeah, so, we'd love to know your comments on any of the topics we talked about today. It's really important to us. Again, that is all the time we have for today. Brent, again, thank you for being on the show. Please let everybody know how they can reach you if they want to reach out and help you with any of your projects, especially with the refugee kids.
Yeah. Well, you could always reach me on LinkedIn, Brent Naple Calcaterra, BRENTKNAPLE/Calcaterra, CALCATERRA. I keep it pretty simple. I wanted all my communication to go through LinkedIn because I'm so busy right now, and I am making progress on everything. And it's through your help too, Gene. You've been a good friend to me, and thank you, really.
My pleasure. It's been a two-way street, man. It really has been. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Well, I'll see you next week, brother.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank you very much. And I'll be in Montreal, but, we'll see how things play out. It's all the time we have for tonight.
Red light.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Be safe out there and be good to each other. See you, Brent.
Yep, see you.